She has been captivating audiences for years with her wit and charm, straight from the networking floor to give you all the dirt. It's Dusta!
Hey, y'all, and welcome to another exciting episode of Down Home Dirt, the show where we dive deep into the journey of entrepreneurship with those who took the plunge and all the ups and downs that come with it. I'm your host, Dusta, and today we're joined with Michelle with Triangle Social Media. Welcome, and thank you for coming out today.
Hey, Dusta, thanks for having me. Looking forward to this.
I'm super excited to get to know more about you. I think we connected through Irene Brooks, who was also on the podcast,
Yes.
because you do amazing work for her social media.
Thank you. Yeah, I love Irene.
I love her. She's my favorite. She has one of the best episodes too, because she just has I love her personality.
Yes.
So let's start out with where you're from and how'd you end up in the Triangle?
Absolutely. So I'm originally from Long Island, New York. I'm one of 8. I have, many siblings. I joined the Navy right out of high school. I was a hospital corpsman in the Navy, and I was in California for a bunch of years. And fast forward, moved to actually first Durham, North Carolina, a while ago. I've been here for 24 years now.
Wow.
Here, there, and everywhere. We were living here, then moved to Hawaii for a couple of years, and then moved back to then Raleigh, where I've stayed. And I love living in the Triangle. Love what I do, and I love living here.
It is a great place to live. I have been here for 12 years and I haven't really lived anywhere else, honestly, besides Florida. Whatever. I mean, I lived in Texas briefly, but again, that was for 6 months and I was like, this sucks. So I left.
Oh, no.
I lived there. Let me just preface all this. I lived there in the middle of summer while I was pregnant.
Oh, yeah. I get that.
Oh, yeah. I was like, I'm not doing this. That dry heat was something else. So let's get into it. Can you tell us a little bit about your business and who's your ideal client?
Sure. And again, I just appreciate, the opportunity to share and collaborate. Love what you do. All your interviews are great. So I have all different industries as clients. I usually tell people if they ask, like, what's your niche? I don't have a niche client, but I'm the niche. And so if it works well and we connect, you just get that hunch and you know when it's going to be amazing. And many of my clients have become friends. And so what I do is social media management, content creation, managing notifications, organic growth on all the different platforms, paid advertising. I do a lot of networking, workshops, events, speaking engagements, et cetera, et cetera. And it's kind of all tied up into a big ball of social. And I love the human element, just connecting with people like this, virtually, in person, events, whatnot, and just, nurturing relationships that become friendships, become collaborations, and you just never know where things can lead. So that's kind of me in a little nutshell.
No, absolutely agree with you on that. I was recently described as a social butterfly by my youngest child, and I was like,
Aw.
that's interesting because that's exactly how my mother described me growing up. And I was like, man, that's never gone away.
Whoa.
And I laugh about it now because I didn't think about this back then. When I was in elementary school, I knew all of the office staff. I knew the safety patrol person. I knew everyone you needed to know, I knew. And I carried that through all of my years of school. And I never realized that that was networking until I started a business. But it was just one of those things that I just did. It came naturally. So I think we
foreshadowing.
Right? I think we connect on that because it's just fun to talk to people and to get to know them. That's why I do this podcast too.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So let's talk about your experience in networking. In your experience, how does genuine networking differ from superficial connections in the marketing world?
Well, have you been to an event and you met that person who did all the talking, didn't ask you anything about yourself, wanted to make sure that you got their card, or they want to even schedule a one-to-one with you, but it seems very one-sided. It doesn't feel authentic. I think that we could get that same feeling online and social media. And my goal is to try to keep that authenticity in person as much as it is online, vice versa. I think that we need to be better listeners and offer value. A lot of people, go into different settings wanting to
Mhm.
get clients, get leads. But how about going with a attitude of giving, right? And introduce someone to someone else in the room, or just offer your insights on whatever the topic might be. I think that changes the whole world of networking when we have that attitude of giving.
I will agree with you on that. One thing that I learned when I started networking is I just like to talk to people, so I'll talk to you. And I would always forget business cards, right? But then someone told me that there's a flip side to it. There are people that are always, here's my card, here's my card. And you don't want to be that person either. And I was like, I have to find balance because I do have to give you my card at some point, but I wait till they ask. And because I want it to be more genuine, because I do feel that
That's a
way.
good strategy. I like that. And also, I think we can ask for their card before asking if we could give them ours.
Absolutely.
And sometimes it's kind of fun if we're engaging and having a conversation to take a selfie, and then you've got that memory of that person in your phone, and maybe tag them later in a post. You know, Again, more value.
That's my favorite thing to do every time. I'm like, can we just take a photo together? And then I'm like, guess who I got to talk to today?
Yeah, I love that.
It's fabulous. So let's
Hmm.
talk about social media because that seems to be something that goes up and down all the time, whether it's different platforms or whatnot. So, social media platforms are constantly evolving. How do you determine which platforms are worth investing your time and resources in for a specific business?
Hmm. So I always ask a potential client or anyone I'm, discussing this topic with, where do you get the most connections, leads, comments, engagement? That's where you want to focus first. If you're already getting, leads, recommendations, tags, referrals, on Facebook, which is kind of number one.
Mhm.
Sorry, my dryer just went off. Scratch that, scratch that. Um, so really it's about where you get the most engagement. I think that's the most important. But you have to balance that out with where are you not right now and where do you want to test and explore and find out if you might have some amazing connections waiting for you. There may be people who are very active on one platform and they decide, well, let's try LinkedIn, and they find out, wow, that is my place. I should have done this sooner. And so it's a balance because you want to try out other platforms because why not? But you need to also have the bandwidth to manage notifications, because if you're getting comments or questions or messages and you're not answering in a timely fashion, you may lose those connections. And so it's important to just keep everything in balance, try new things, but be where you are the strongest. And again, back to that value point, don't just wait for people to engage in your content, go to theirs and comment and engage and share and spotlight and do things like you're doing right here. So I've kind of switched my own methodology. I used to do every Wednesday social sound bites with Michelle. I did interviews with people and I kind of just, we change and morph over time in the processes and the things that we do. But I still love to do spotlights. And so I'll do shout outs, I'll tag, I'll do, check into a venue and talk all about that business, that service, those people. And it's an opportunity, again, to support local, to share value, and to build those connections that you've already started.
Absolutely. And something else that I've noticed, it's a kind of, I don't want to say backhanded, I don't know, it's like a sly way of advertising is when you go and you tag that business and someone goes and looks at their Facebook, they see what you tagged. So
Sure.
inadvertently, you're putting yourself out there even more. I don't know what the word is for that, but
It is indirect marketing,
okay,
absolutely,
thank
and
you.
100% legit. And I look at it as a result. It is not the purpose of me doing that spotlight. Now, some people may have ulterior motives, but I think that authenticity will come across. If you're, sincerely and genuinely wanting to spotlight that person, that message will come across in the commentary that you choose and whatever the graphics or photos, etc. But just be sincere, and it does come back to you though, and there's nothing wrong with that.
No, absolutely. It's something that I started doing and I didn't realize that. And then people would see like my company was at this restaurant or this, and they were like, "Oh, I seen you," and I was like, "Oh, okay," because I
Right?
post it and I forget it, right? I don't think about it. And I was like, oh, so that like indirectly links me to this person who we have something in common. So it builds that relationship.
Absolutely. Yes.
I
Love that.
love that. I love having something in common with people so that we can talk about it, even if it's something small like our favorite restaurant. Because there are some
Hmm.
places I could go on for days about. But
Yeah.
speaking of authenticity, how important is authenticity in marketing, especially on social media?
So I take a holistic view on this because there's a lot of tips and tricks and graphics, and AI is huge. And taking all that into consideration, I think it's important to have an overview or a zoomed out view of you as a brand. And so if you're posting a lot of salesy messages,
Mhm.
people are not really interested in that. But if you're telling stories, and if you're getting your face on camera, especially, which a lot of people are hesitant to do, but I feel like it makes the most impact. I mean, videos are going to be the strongest kind of content anyway. So why not use that as an opportunity to tell your story, to share your passion, to talk about your why and how you help people? And so I just think having a rotated uh, content calendar of different kinds of content rotating through different formatting as well, that keeps it interesting, creative, and authentic, especially as you're keeping those videos in there. And I try to do more videos myself. I'm like, I need to do more videos, and I'm good at some kinds, but I'm trying to push myself, just like I encourage my clients to do.
Absolutely. And I'm still nervous to be on camera, even though this is what I do. But you got to put yourself out there. And I've received a lot of good
Mhm.
feedback from it. It's like a lot of people say that they love how authentic I am. And I was like, honestly, I don't know any other way to be.
Right.
I can't be too salesy. And I think that's why I'm also really good at sales, is because if I'm going to sell somebody, I don't know, a pool, for example, and they're like, I
Uh-huh.
don't know about this, I will be like, yeah, I agree with you. You might not want this one. You come back and think about it. And then it's sold the next day to that person who had to think about it. So I agree with you. I don't try to like be too salesy and push things. It's not right.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
they want to buy it, they will.
That's right. That's exactly right. No pressure. No pressure at all.
Right. And that actually tends to make them feel better. I think that when you pressure someone into a sales, whether it be a home, a pool, or whatever it is, they feel that regret later. And then they maybe not feel so great towards that person who pressured them or the company
Hmm.
or whatever it is.
True. Yeah, that's true.
So that might not be like your best, advantage. So let's talk
Hmm.
about audience engagement. What strategies do you
Hmm.
recommend for entrepreneurs trying to engage their audience on social media without, coming over as too overly
Hmm.
promotional?
So everything ties really threads back to the value point, and I think often businesses will put content, lots of content, and they work on creating videos and doing graphics and all those things. But again, they're putting it, and they're just expecting people to find them. Now we know we're all competing for various audiences, and we don't always see what we want to see in that news feed, do we?
No.
So excuse me, catch erase that part. So go to the places, go to the people, go to them. Use that search bar in whatever platform you're at, and look up people that you want to connect with or that you're already connected with, and engage with them, like their posts, comment on their posts, maybe share their posts. And that same strategy does so many different things that are valuable. It's indirect marketing, yes, but it builds the collaborative relationship, right? It gives you more content to share,
Mhm.
and it supports local, even if they're not local. You're still supporting other businesses. And so if you make a habit of visiting your news feed, whoever you're already connected with, you may see some there. You may also see ads, right? Suggest, if we're in Facebook, I just think of Facebook, suggested by Facebook, etc. You skip over the ones you don't want to, but again, use the search bar to maybe you're in a certain industry and you're like, who makes a good connection for me? Maybe I'm a landscaper and I'm looking for a home inspector, because I think they may, complement each other. They're not competitive and yet they might complement. Maybe you become referral partners. And so I might use the search bar to look for that industry, that type of business near me, and then just start following them, just start engaging. And you'd be surprised, because usually if you notice that somebody new is following you and engaging, that kind of makes you feel really nice, and you tend to collaborate, you tend to reciprocate. And so it's just, spending drips of time doing those focused activities that build the engagement and the connections and the potential leads, or relationships, events. You never know where it could lead. But it's just good practice, good business ethics, and it just helps everybody.
I absolutely agree. That's one of those things that I love about networking.
Are you drowning in tasks and losing focus on what really matters in your business? Did you know that every hour spent on invoicing, emails, data entry, or calendar chaos is an hour not spent growing your business? That's where Oak City Admins comes in. We handle the busy work so you can lead, scale, and breathe easier. For less than the cost of a full-time hire, you get a dedicated expert who pays for themselves in productivity. If the biggest obstacle in running your small business is delegating to elevating, let Oak City Admins help you grow. Smart support, serious results.
That even if I can't help you, I'm going to know 10 people that can. And that's
Yes.
one thing that I love about it. People come to me and they're like, I need a recommendation for X, Y, and Z. I know it sounds out of the realm, but I do know a guy. And I think
Yep.
that's really important for building those relationships. Let's talk
Mhm.
about success. I measure success differently than you do, and so do your clients. So, speaking of that, what metrics do you believe are the most telling of a successful networking or social media strategy? And how should entrepreneurs interpret these metrics?
So, on the one hand, you've got the actual numbers and the graphics and the insights and the analytics. And I do create social media reports for my clients every month, which gives them a breakdown visually, that they can see all the, excuse me, all the reach and the numbers and whatnot and the growth. And that is definitely a strong tool to use to then navigate future content you may create, especially when you see trends of either certain days or times where you're getting more reach, or types of content that was more successful. So you might do more of that kind. Um, but this should be balanced with, what other type of human needs does this person have? And how else can you help them? And so, in the holistic approach, I'm looking for opportunities to give referrals and recommendations to my client in particular. People ask for recommendations for everything on Facebook. And so if they are putting out there, hey, I'm looking for a travel agent, or I'm looking for a house cleaner, I'm looking for a home care provider. Well, I know who I'm going to recommend, right? And so I'm going to tag that person and their business, and maybe say a few words about why I love them. Um, Often you'll see recommendations, but it helps to be more descriptive. And so I think that is a good way to, again, it comes back to the same thread of, offering value, sharing, supporting, and just being very active. So
Yes.
let me back up to your question, because I kind of trailed off there. So if my client feels the value of my services, that is number one to me. And so if they are pleased with the content, the process, the relationship, then I'm so happy. If they're happy, I'm happy. So we do these other things to support them, right? But really, you have to have good communication. You have to have regular meetings and talk and ask questions and get feedback. And I think that is the measure of success.
I will agree with you on that. Especially when you go back to when somebody recommends you. If somebody doesn't leave a description of why they love something, I automatically write it off. I'm like, obviously they're just either they know them or they feel compelled to just shout their name out for whatever reason, but they're not giving
Right.
me a true reason. I'm a why
Yeah.
person. I used to get in trouble a lot as a kid because why? Tell me why. If you can't tell me why, A, I'm not doing it, and B, it doesn't make sense to me, done. I'm still like that to this day.
Hmm.
And it gets me
Hmm.
in trouble sometimes, but I've learned to turn it off, be like, oh, can't ask why, just gonna assume, moving on.
Right.
You got to pay your taxes. Why? Well, I don't want to get into it. I'm just going to do it.
Yeah,
Certain
those
things.
hard things.
So let's talk about overcoming obstacles. What common challenges do entrepreneurs face when trying to build their brand through networking and social media, and how can they overcome it?
I think people can sometimes feel intimidated. Maybe they're ignorant and innocently so. They're just not very skilled at doing social media. And so they just stay away from it. Well, that's not going to help market themselves. So I think that that's a huge obstacle. And it may be more applicable for older generations, maybe the boomers, but really you'd be surprised at even some Gen Xers or millennials that I was surprisingly found out, they also didn't really feel confident. So sometimes it's a confidence issue. And that's why I do consulting, because sometimes people just need to learn some basic skills they could do on their own, right? Um, so that's definitely something that can be overcome. I think any obstacle can be overcome. It's just a matter of doing whatever it takes, finding out what the answer and the solution is, and then tackling that, right? And sometimes you need a little bit of encouragement. And so I like to encourage people in that way. Um, in particular with type of content, videos is a huge thing. And so many times, not just my clients, but just people I talk to, right? They're afraid to do the videos. They don't like to look at themselves on the camera or in the video. And so, again, for that reason, they don't do videos. Knowing that videos are the strongest kind of content you can share, right? Now, you could get into more details of, good lighting, eye contact, the analytical part, the equipment, but it doesn't require a whole lot. You could be candid, you could be professional, you could do it in a way. And I give those tips. I'm not a videographer by any means, but for my clients and people who are interested, I usually will offer that. I can hold up my my camera phone with a steady hand, talk about what you want to share, and then tell your story. I think that is a huge obstacle that many people don't choose to find ways to overcome, and I think it hurts them. um, so I always try to encourage people, you can do it. Maybe you need help, but maybe you gradually segue from this point of just being on camera with no words, maybe like a B-roll type of video, or maybe it's just panning across your product or a location, right? Like a garden, right? And you do a voiceover. You're doing a voiceover, that's still you talking, right? And eventually segue into getting your face on the camera. Just a few examples of there's things you can do to overcome those hurdles and succeed and move forward and grow.
Absolutely. I think the videos thing is definitely something. I'm a millennial, so I'm all like, oh, you want me to get in front of the camera? Okay. Hey, I was so ridiculous the first time. And I was like, it's very humbling, I will be honest, to watch yourself or to listen to the way you speak, because I literally get on my own nerves. I'm like, why do I say that so much? Shut up. But I've learned to edit, first of all, so I could cut it out.
Yeah.
And second, it makes me more self aware of my habits, the way I speak, the way that I am to others. So that way you can kind of get a more gauge of like, how are you when you go out to networking events? How are you when you do whatever? So that's just my two
Yeah.
cents on that. I hope somebody else
Mhm.
learns from my fumbling. So you mentioned storytelling, and I love storytelling because my thing is relate to me, tell me a story, and I'll be your customer for life, right? But how can entrepreneurs effectively use storytelling in their marketing efforts, and what are some key elements of a compelling story?
I think just like writing, where you have an introduction, you tell people what you're going to tell them, you tell them, then you tell them what you just told them. um, I think that, you can have an outline, you can have it formatted correctly. But if you think about taking that written paper to video, for example, or even just audio, right? Um, that there are public speaking skills that come into play, even if you're not on video. And that is, your projection, enunciation, and I said the word just now, again, you're more aware of yourself when you monitor. But we're all in a growth pattern. You got to start somewhere. And so just tell the story. And then as you move forward, you can analyze yourself, right? Or you can ask a friend to analyze, give you feedback, and you can always find ways to improve. I think we can all find ways to improve whatever it is, our, our commentary, our writing style, even if we're using AI, because there's many times where you can totally tell it's AI, right? So you want to be careful in the emojis that are used and the formatting, for example. But and that whole topic of AI, you don't just have to take the first result. You can sharpen it, fine tune it, and get it to sound a little bit more like you over time. It's a learning experience, right?
Mhm.
And so just like us humans, AI is learning us, but as we do things and we're more consistent with it, we build that confidence and become more proficient, right? And so, as with anything, I think we just need to get in there and we need to explore and do it. It's just like formatting or what do I want to say? Um, like for Facebook, right? They change all the time.
Mhm.
There's new features put out. Well, we don't all have them at the same time. But if we're in the regular habit of engaging and working on the platforms, we'll be more familiar with it and we'll know, oh, I remember how to get here. Because sometimes they move things around. You're like, wait, what happened? And so, the more consistent you are in using a platform, and not only a platform, but the different pathways, because you do things on your phone, you can do things on the computer. You could start from Instagram and cross post, or start from Meta and cross post. And so learning the pathways builds that confidence and just helps altogether. Did that answer your question?
Yes. I agree with you on that. Like I am still learning how to public speak, and there are things that you can do. Not I don't want to say classes, but there's Toastmasters that they'll help you with
Yeah.
your public speaking, and you can always join not acting, but like improv. That's the word I was looking for. Improv classes will help you also, because sometimes you do need to think on your toes and just keep it going, especially if there's
Mhm.
a distraction in the audience or behind you or whatever. So I think that
That
there's
sounds like
definitely
a great idea. Yeah, that will benefit you in all areas of life, because the interfaces of the various platforms, we're chasing them to keep up with the changes. And so it's a balance. You got to have time to manage things, to do things, to learn things. And if you don't have the time, or you just purely don't like it and you can outsource it, then I can help with that, you know
yes, I love that. It's what is it? Somebody came on the podcast and they had said it's not how you're going to do it, it's who you're going to get to do it. And that's something as entrepreneurs I think we need to always keep in the forefront, because we cannot
Hmm.
do everything, even if we
Right.
try really, really hard. I know from experience.
Yeah, yeah. And we're balancing and juggling so many different things in our business that we've got to have that accountant and bookkeeper and, just people that they're experts in their fields. And I mean, we can and we do start out managing all these hats. But as we're able, if we can outsource, then we could focus more time on the thing that we're passionate about, right?
Absolutely. And I think that's the best thing you could do for your business is to outsource.
Mhm.
Speaking
Yes.
of outsourcing, let's talk about the role of community. Can you discuss the importance of building a community around a brand on social media, and what are some of the effective ways to foster that community?
Well, what comes to mind is, I'm going to pause for a minute. Frog in my throat. What comes to mind is how I started. When I first started my business, I did social media meetups all around the county every Tuesday evening. I was in Wake Forest, Wendell, Youngsville, Garner, downtown Raleigh, Durham, and I built relationships with venues and business owners who let me meet there. One very prevalent one was Johnny's Pizza, several of his locations, and he was very supportive. And so that was just my thing. And it was just, let's meet up. And I also, at the beginning, I focused on women business owners. since it's kind of changed and morphed, but I didn't realize at the time that I was building community. I was making friends. I was building a brand. And so one strategy that somebody might have is to have events, have them in key areas where you want to build community and offer value, maybe invite speakers, or just attend existing events that are already happening and then be very active and supportive and engaged in those groups. Um, but my experience was, when I look back and I just think, wow, I'm still friends now with many of the people that started 7 years ago. This is my 7th year in business.
Wow.
And so, yeah, it's kind of cool to think about. Now we often change and grow and do different things, right? Different activities in our business. And so I don't do a weekly meetup anymore, but I do a lot of meetups. I do monthly meetups and I do participate in, and, I'll invite people to speak if it's something that I have the ability, a couple of meetups that I help run. And again, it's that value again, and just giving a place for many people to connect with each other and then spotlight uh, presenters who can share more about their business while offering value to the group. That's just one of many strategies, but I really love that one.
That's great. I love that too. My thing, when I started, I moved to Clayton. Like I moved, like from across the world. I didn't. I moved from Garner to Clayton, right? But at the same
Yeah.
time, I didn't know anyone. And when I first came here, I was like, not a single soul. I didn't have one friend in Clayton, and I was like, okay, so how are we going to solve this? So I
Mm-hmm.
started hanging out downtown, and that's where I met people from different networking groups in the Chamber of Commerce. And I just kind of got really authentically involved with that. And that is where my network has since been built up. So I definitely think that just hanging out in downtown is another good one too. Just be involved in your community, get to know the people
Oh
that
yeah,
are there. I don't, again,
love
the
that.
social butterfly thing. Just, hi,
Yeah,
how's it going?
absolutely. And maybe you're at a venue and you're like, I really got great customer service. I'm going to tag you guys in a post. Here's my card. I mean, it's a way of offering value and building those supportive community relationships. And about the chamber, yes, applaud to that one because I love the chamber. I'm an ambassador for the Garner Chamber of Commerce, and so I'm always advocating for people to join. And I know Clayton is our sister chamber. We've done events together with the Clayton Chamber, um, and so yeah, there's a lot of value there, and definitely recommend joining your local chamber and getting involved in community that way.
Absolutely. There was so much when I interviewed Dana Wooten from the Clayton Chamber of Commerce that I did not know that they did. And they're like, "Yeah, we're one of the people that do the Clayton Harvest Festival." And I was like, I mean, how would I know that other than meeting her? And I was like, "That's a really impressive. I didn't realize how much involvement it was, you know?"
Right. Yes.
Which
Yes.
is my favorite thing. It's like, "Okay, you guys have built this great." It's the fact that they went from having like maybe 10,000 people to over 30,000 people visit this event over the last like 5 years. It's like so impressive. So definitely reach
That
out to
is
your local
amazing.
community groups.
Yes.
So are you ready for rapid fire?
Okay, I'm ready.
New thing we're doing on the podcast, guys, rapid fire. So first question is, what was your first job in marketing?
My first job was volunteer. I volunteered for a few organizations. Mari Fitzwin has a homeschool segment on his radio. And so I was helping her. She also did conferences. And so I helped her with her social media, announcing the conferences and just talking about her brand. Also, I was director of my homeschool group for 6 years at Crossroads Fellowship. And so, of course, I volunteered to do that. We had a Facebook group and page, etc. So really volunteering was the segue into my business because it exposed me to something that I realized I really enjoyed.
I love that. I love hearing stories like that instead of I went to school, I did it, I hate it because that's my story. I went to college, I got the job, I hated it, and I was like, okay, moving on to something different. So I love that. This is you
Yeah.
doing something you wanted to do and you just didn't know it at the time.
Right. Hmm.
So, can you name one marketing tool that you cannot live without?
Marketing tool. Oof. Well, I guess as frustrating as it can be, Meta. Meta is a, ooh, you want to slap them and then you just, So the scheduling tool in Meta Business is great for not 100% of posting, but it's great for being able to share on Facebook and Instagram and some Facebook groups at the same time. And so there's a lot of elements in the interface there and features that are very helpful. It's not the only thing that we use, but it's definitely a strong part of content calendars and content scheduling and whatnot. And so probably that's the number one.
That's the one that I use too, and I could go on for days on how it frustrates me, but at the same time, I use it all the time. So,
Yeah.
question 3, what's the best piece of advice you've received in your career?
Ooh, well, it's hard to narrow that one down, but I guess I would have to say, and I can't remember like who specifically may have said, and may have been many different sources, but I think you need to enjoy what you're doing. You've got to enjoy your day to day. And that comes back to, what is your why? Why are you doing what you're doing? And the other thing that, if you tag on 2 words onto what you're doing, it helps you to see forward. And that is, so that. So I'm doing XYZ so that what? So that what? Why am I doing this? Oh, it helps you to kind of stay focused on your reason, your why, your goals, and what the next steps are.
I love that, and I'm going to start saying that now. Thank you. I appreciate
Yeah.
that. So, question number 4. What's a common misconception about marketing that you wish people understood?
I think sometimes people are tunnel vision into thinking um, it's just about my business card, my logo, my colors, even my fonts, what we sell, that it's very one sided. And again, I zoom out, I have that telescopic view. Sometimes you got to zoom in, but I like to zoom out, and it's a relationship. It's a, you're relating with people. I mean, even if you think about, you're trying to get leads and customers. Okay, well, why? So that, right, so that you could grow your business and you could get into the weeds. But I think that if you zoom out and just think holistically about what you're doing, why you're doing it, how you're doing it, and what the next steps are, life is more enjoyable that way. You may have goals to be able to cut down the amount of time because you've grown a team and now you have more time to spend with family. Well, maybe that's very important, right? And so a misconception is that your business is just in this little box. And so there are so many elements to growing a business, maintaining a business, and all the, the hats that we wear. But we can get lost in that and lose focus on, why are we doing this? And if your goal is that you want to make more money and you want to have more money to spend, well, I guess there's value in that. That's not my main focus. I want to enjoy it. I don't just want to do it for the sake of doing it or to make money. I want to be able to enjoy my life. So it's all perspective. Excuse me.
I will agree with you on that. It is all about perspective, and some people do get tunnel vision. I know I've suffered from it myself, and I had to zoom out and reevaluate. So I get that 1,000%.
Yeah.
Which is something I literally get on my own nerves about. I say that. No, yeah, I agree. I get that. So I'm cutting all this out.
Okay.
Question 5. And I think we've already gone over this, but what's your favorite social media platform for business and why?
So my favorite is really tough because I would say Facebook and Instagram are at the top because that's where I get most of engagement and connections. But it doesn't mean the others are, very less. Because LinkedIn is up there, but Facebook and Instagram, they're kind of a tag team. And there's different processes and things that you could do to help with that. But you have to ask yourself, where are you getting the most engagement? Where are you getting the tags, connections, comments, recommendations, activity, all those things, right? That should be your favorite. And then it doesn't mean you spend all your time only there, but it may be that you spend more of your time in that pie chart of time, right? On that one platform. So yeah, I would have to say Facebook with a very close, Instagram. They're almost equal.
Those are my favorite to post on, and my favorite to just literally doom scroll is TikTok. All
Yeah, the
right.
scrolling.
Question number 6. Describe your marketing style in 3 words.
Okay, so let me clarify something. Are we talking about marketing Triangle social media? Because if we're talking about a brand, another brand, a business, then it's not my voice, it's their voice. And so I'm learning their voice. And so whatever that means, I would come up with 3 words for them. For Triangle social media, because I do a lot of not direct marketing, kind of like we talked before, I would say a lot of indirect marketing and just activity. The most common content I share is networking and events. And so, all that to say, um, pink, sparkly, and fun.
I love that. My favorite thing in the world is glitter. I love it.
Yay.
So question number 7. This is a great one because I always love to hear the answers. What is a marketing trend that you think is overrated?
Overrated. Wow, that's a tough one. A trend. The trends themselves are all over the place.
Yes, they
Um,
are.
so when we say overrated, maybe unuseful or not very efficient or not really effective.
Hmm.
So I'm just going to go with using Canva the wrong way. Um,
Yes.
yeah, using Canva, and you got this graphic. It's got your colors and your message and your brand and your logo, and you just kind of stick it up there, and it's like it's not a whole lot of extra thought going into the value of that post because we want to be thoughtful and purposeful about the content we're sharing. And so the commentary is so important as much as the graphic itself, and they should relate to each other. So there's a lot of things you can do and should do in creating graphics and videos and content that sometimes people they don't take advantage of, and it could just be a learning curve, or but it's a trend that I see, and I'll be like, wow, that's boring, but um, you can see the difference when you see the effort put into creating content.
I
So
agree, and this is just my own personal opinion. But when I see 3 local businesses that I know all went to Canva, took the first one that they saw to wish you a happy Memorial Day, and I just scrolled. I'm like, wait, didn't I just see? Wait, y'all just went to the same thing and picked the one thing and went on?
So, on that note, I have a thought. So sometimes with franchises, corporate does their social media and all the franchises get the same post. And it doesn't even funnel to their brand, it funnels to corporate brand. So I sometimes, if I have a client, I'm thinking of one in particular, and they decided to discontinue the corporate posting because it really was not authentic to their messaging. And I think they've done better since making that change.
Absolutely. I think being unique, obviously, I think being unique is important. I like to stand out.
Yeah.
That's just my thing.
Yeah.
Right. Question number 8. We're on now. Wow. Getting through these. How do you stay inspired and creative in your marketing efforts?
Inspired and creative. There's several podcasts and YouTube channels that I follow and I stay up to date through because there's a lot of ways to get information. And so when you find that channel, that business or whatever the account is, and they have good, legit, authentic, and up to date content, updates, news breaks, and all that, then that in itself can be a challenge in finding your favorites, right? But I think that we've got to stay on top of things, no matter what our industry. Whatever our industry is, we've got to stay on top of the the science, the analytics, the trends, the updates, the news, everything happening in from your community to what's happening in the world. And so it takes time to do that. But yeah. So the answer is podcasts and YouTube channels that I have vetted for myself, and I feel an affinity for, and I'm like, oh, I really like their style, their messaging, and it's helpful to me. And so I'll use that just to kind of stay up to date on things.
I'm the same way. I love, well, what I do for a living. I have the time to listen to hour and a half, 2 hour long podcasts. So that's what I do. And that's where I like to keep myself creative, because I love to listen to other people's ideas, which is another reason I started this, because I'm like, if anyone, just one person can learn something, use it in their business, go on, make their lives happier, then I feel great. So I agree with you on that.
Love that.
Again, I keep annoying myself by saying that. All right, question 9. What's the most rewarding project you have worked on?
The most rewarding project. There's a lot, but I guess I'll just I'm thinking of a store that I helped with their grand opening, and so I created their social media and you know promoted the grand opening in Raleigh, and it just kind of blew up, and it was crazy, and everybody loves that type of business, and it was very successful, and there was a line down the strip mall on Capitol Boulevard, and yeah, that was very rewarding knowing that I had a part of that. That their brand and what they do speaks to people. They obviously people are interested in what they sell, but it was very rewarding being part of the start of that for Raleigh. Yeah,
That's great. I love that for you. Honestly, that is I sometimes I'm jealous that you have a marketing company, because that's something I always think I'm like really good at, but I'm really only good at marketing myself. I'm like, yeah, I could do it for someone else. No, I can't. No, sorry. I'm bad.
well, you never know. You never know.
I've always thought that I'd be like really good at marketing, and I was like, I should go to college for this. And then my lovely self was like, no, go to college for something you can make money at. And I went to school for medical office administration, medical coding, got my certificate, got the job. I flippin' hated it. So
Oh,
I was like, because that's a whole thing. We're going to cut this part out. But my dad was like, go to college and get a job, and then you can retire in 40 years. And I was like, that sucks.
40 years. Oh,
So, you know what, though? This is just a personal thing, cutting this out too. I am at a turning point in my life. I'm going to be 40 next year. I have 2 grown children. It's time to restart and relive my life. So maybe one day
mhm.
I'll get into it. But
Yeah.
for right now, everything's up in the air, and I don't know what I want. So it's fine.
Okay.
Back to the questions. Sorry. Question number 10, last rapid fire question. If you could give one piece of advice to an aspiring entrepreneur about marketing, what would it be?
Wow, a lot of different things. So one of the things we talked before the show was the launch program. Highly recommend the launch program, and they're all over Raleigh, Garner, uh, Morrisville, even, and Nightdale, many more. But the launch program is a wonderful opportunity for young entrepreneurs who are, maybe they're starting a business, new startups. So much value and resources and support and help. So that's one thing. And I save information on people and businesses that I want to recommend. That's one of the things I save. And when I come across an opportunity, I share it. And there's other things, obviously. Join your local chamber. But it depends on where someone's at in their business, if they're ready to do that thing, right? Um, the biggest overall kind of zoomed out telescopic thing is you got to start. You got to start. And we all start somewhere. And I tell people that all the time. We got to start somewhere. So don't worry about where you're at, what you haven't done, what you don't know. You're starting now, and you can only move forward and upward. So do it. You can do it.
I agree. I always tell people on the podcast, do it and do it messy, because you can always clean it up and that's fine. Someone else once told me that done is better than perfect. And I was like, oh, that
I like that.
set a whole new standard for me. I'm going to be honest.
Yeah.
Sometimes
And another one, you made me think of, you said do it messy. There's also do it scared. Have you heard that one?
yes.
Like, it's okay to be scared. Just do it anyway. Your feelings will catch up with you as you move forward.
Exactly. Just one foot in front of the other. That's all you can do.
Mm-hmm.
Was there anything else that you wanted to share with our guest today?
Wow, I can't think of anything in particular other than thanks for watching. And maybe you might want to follow me, Triangle Social Media, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn. I'm focusing on my YouTube this year, so I'm going to try to be more purposeful about sharing those videos I talked about there. But we're all working on things, and so happy to collaborate. Just reach out.
Awesome. And we're going to share all of the contact information at the bottom so you guys can contact her and follow her on social media and get to know her a lot better. And I just want to thank you for coming out today and doing the podcast with me. I really appreciate that and getting to know you better. Thank you. And thank you guys
Jessica,
for watching. And join us next Tuesday for another exciting episode of Down Home Dirt. We'll see you then.
Yeah.
Don't forget to like and subscribe.